Welcome, friends. This today was not a recipe that I was going to show you because I don't really think of it as a recipe, and it doesn't really fit into any sort of category other than soup. Plain and simple, easy to make soup. So I'm going to start off. I've got a pot here. It's pretty hot, and I've got our homemade bacon. I'm just going to throw that bacon in the bottom, and we're going to start to fry that up and render out the fat. And I say this isn't really a recipe, mostly because it's not really any one soup. It's stuff that I've drawn from a bunch of different soups over the years. And then at some point, I just simplified it. I took out all of the extraneous material and made something that I could put together really quickly on a Sunday afternoon so that I could have soup for the week. And some of the ingredients are going to seem really familiar, like white hominy. Even though this soup isn't pozole, it still has pozole in it. And I put in beans, but I don't always use the same beans. I just kind of use whatever beans are in the pantry. So today I'm using pinto, navy, and black-eyed peas. The impetus for this whole recipe comes out of what's in this container, and that is pork stock. Now, every winter, Jules and I make up about 25 or 30 pounds of pork sausage, and that leaves us with bones, and I make it into pork stock. And that pork stock, of course, turns into soup. So I've got the bacon rendered out, and in go some onions, and we just fry those down to soften them. Once that's softened down a little bit, I have just ground some cumin. And so we sprinkle in a little bit of cumin. Stir that in. Crush in some garlic. Stir that in. Then some oregano. And just kind of measure it by hand, by eye. You're going to make this soup as often as I do. Eventually, you'll just sort of know how much to put in. Then I've got some chipotle in adobo, and just put those in. Diced tomatoes. And we'll just cook out the flavor on those tomatoes a little bit. Now I hear you. A lot of people are typing, isn't this just a dumbed down rip-off version of a pozole, a Mexican pozole? Pretty much, yeah. I used to make that, and then you know what? I got lazy. So one Sunday afternoon, I didn't really want to take the time to make a full-on pozole, and I had the broth, and I had all of the other things that I wanted to make it, but I just wanted to make something quick, get it on the table. And so I came up with this, and you know what? It worked. So I've stuck with it over the years, and it's something that I make fairly often. So in go the beans now. And like I said before, you can use any combination of beans that you like. If you don't want to use canned beans, by all means use dry beans and soak them and boil them ahead of time, but that sort of defeats my purpose of making this soup, which is, you know, to have something within 15 minutes that I can put the cover on and let it cook for half an hour, and then it's ready. Mix that together, and now you just pour in the stock. And so I've got this pork bone stock. Pork stock isn't really something that you can buy at the grocery store like you can chicken or beef. So if you don't have pork, use chicken. It will work just as well. And I let that fat go in. There's some fat floating on top. I put that in as well. So that's it. We'll give it a little bit of a stir, and then I'll let this simmer for about a half an hour, and it's at that point pretty much ready to eat. You might want to check this for saltiness. That homemade bacon will bring a level of salt, but sometimes it's not enough, so you might want to add some. Some people will want to add some pepper in. That's fine. Put the pepper in. You can pretty much take this and make it anything you want. So we'll let that simmer away and we'll come back and give it a taste. Soup.
Looks pretty good. It's a lot in your soup.
Yeah, I don't need a big bowl. One scoop is probably more than enough.
It's a big scoop.
It is a big scoop.
Oh, so okay. So, well, okay. I'll try and do a half scoop. Half scoops are hard. Just leave that in there. It's hot.
Yeah.
As per usual. Steam.
So I didn't make it quite as hot this time.
Ah,
I
yes.
dialed back the chipotle chili just a little bit so that it's not searing your mouth. Sometimes I can go overboard with the chipotle. Just enough to give it that flavor.
I still think a little cilantro and sour cream would do really well.
Yeah. A dollop of sour cream, cilantro on top just as you finish it to serve it.
I think that would kind of fill it in a little bit.
I sometimes grate cheddar cheese on top.
That
and
works
mix,
too?
And mix the cheddar cheese in. It's really good. So this is, I mean...
Yeah, you don't put cheese. Sorry.
I'll
Don't
put cheese
on anything.
I'll put cheese on anything. This is really simple. It's a really simple soup. You saw me just dump a pile of cans into that pot. There's nothing to it, and yet it's hearty. It's filling,
It's very nice.
and it's got a lot of beans in it, which are apparently good for you.
Beans are good for you. All right. Enjoy.